I feel like, again, that comes from basketball too, just wanting to actually do well at something and not just do it to get a C and just call it good. As a student, ChatGPT honestly is so helpful. Not gonna lie.
It's okay, yeah.
I don't use it to cheat, but for like studying for classes, because some of my classes don't give like practice exams, practice questions.
Yeah. Today I'm joined by Malcolm Jones, one of my former students times 3, I think, right?
Yep, 3.
Nice. Eventually, once pharmacology finishes, we'll have you rank the classes on all kinds of metrics, maybe.
Yeah, right now cancer's
number 1. Yeah. Hey, we had a great time. That was my one-off, just one show. And so I knew I was like, I gotta hit the mark on this one. But yeah, tell everybody about yourself, kind of your story to college, MSU specifically, and then don't forget the main unique part that you've got for us.
Yeah, my name is Malcolm Jones from Prior Lake, Minnesota. Here at Minnesota State, primarily for basketball. However, like there was some academics that went into it because when I was in high school, I had some offers it was either basically here or Sioux Falls, and I just liked the academics here better, and just like the community of like, it felt more of like a big college than Sioux Falls was kind of smaller. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I'm here. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here, and mostly here for basketball, but I found that academics here is good too, and it does what I needed to do. And what else? Should have had this first.
Good. I'm trying to think here. I know one thing the audience will want to know. How did last season go for you guys on the basketball team?
Oh, yeah. Went as good as the season go, won D2 national championships, so that was fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, you're the first one on the show too who has been an athlete on the show. And I think, do you have friends that are not athletes, and like, how do you compare your time usage to them? That's always the biggest, like, boom, like a split.
Yeah, honestly, I'd say like the time of like studying classes and doing homework and stuff is pretty similar. Just the difference is when we're doing our homework, because I have one of our Micaiah, the classmate in our many of my classes. I mean, she does her homework during the day and stuff, whereas I mostly just do it at night because that's like the only opportunity I have most of the days. And so, I mean, we're spending probably relatively the same amount of time on stuff, but she just does it throughout the day or in the morning, whereas I just do it at night. And so, I mean, there are some late nights, but, you know, we make it work, so.
It's all right. You've also slain at least 2 of my alternate exams, because I write an alternate exam if they miss anything, because I'm kind of evil like that. Could you tell that the last exam was not any different than the other, or like did it matter?
Well, and I mean, I didn't really see the first exam. Or are you talking about like the pharmacology one?
Yeah. I didn't actually cook up anything different for you this time.
Oh, really?
No, that was the same one. I
didn't even notice.
It's okay. I was like, I told Micaiah, I was like, tell Malcolm it's going to be the worst thing ever. I'm going to cook up the evilest exam.
Yeah, she told me that it was going to be harder, and that you said it was going to be harder.
No, and then you did great, so it was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so trying to think, the main thing, like a lot of like parents and students thinking of school with the sports side of it, what is the main, and they'll probably ask that question, like what's the main differences you feel at like a D2 versus a D1 versus a D3, like based on what you know?
Yeah, I'd say one of the reasons why I decided to go D2 as well is because my older brother, he went D1, and he said like when you're at D1, the time management you have is like so much less. You have so much less time on your hands. And so being D2, it allows me to put more time into school as well as basketball, because the coaches here, they like make our schedule based on my class schedule. It's basically me and 2 other people that they have to do this for, because most of the team, they don't really like have in-person classes. And so it's just, but they make it around my schedule for class, and they're always super lenient with like, if I have a lab, they'll move the practice up earlier or let me like watch film later if I have class. So I mean, I'd say that's one of the upsides to D2. I'm assuming D3 is pretty much similar with like the leniency. I don't really know for sure, but I'd say that would be the biggest difference, is how much time you're putting into your sport at each level. Is D1 is you're basically, if you play a sport at D1, you're pretty much just an athlete. And I mean, my coach always loves to say, it's a funny joke, he's always, we need more athletes and less students. But
Oh no.
No, yeah. they're pretty good at
Yeah.
scheduling around us.
No, no, that is funny. And like, as a prof, I can back up that the athletics department that we have is super like communicative, helpful. Like, I've never felt like that was ever like an issue with anything. Because you guys even have the schedules out before the semester, and it's like this Thursday and this Tuesday and this other Thursday, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I think like one of the major misconceptions that a lot of people start college with is that, oh, the athletes just never go to class, they never do anything, this, that. That's definitely not been the case. And I think I brought this up on another show. You guys, or no, I don't think I did. Remember how I track how everybody does on the exams and genetics?
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that some people, when they saw the poster, were like, oh, but the athletes are doing 20 hours a week or more for the sport in off season.
Yeah.
And they were all like, well, you got to count them because they're going to drag your average down. And I, being a D3 athlete, was like, wasn't going to allow that to pass. I had a whole sheet ready of just you guys as athletes versus the whole class, and you were way higher. And they were like, oh, well, that didn't fit my narrative as well as they thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I think, I mean, you guys do a great job, and like you said, like being able to like be a biomed too in athletics is tougher for sure.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, we take buses a lot of places, and it's like 4-hour bus rides. So honestly, it kind of helps me to do my homework because you're on a bus for 4 hours. You're not going to do anything else.
Yeah.
So I might as well do my homework on the bus and like study like that. And then I also think about it as like if I wasn't doing a sport, I'd have a job. And so a lot of people have jobs, and I feel like that might even take maybe not more time, but definitely like similar time as having a sport with practice every day and stuff like that. But I mean, just got to find time somehow.
Yeah. No, I remember like, I remember like during my seasons, even a D3 football player at Carleton, which is like, again, like kind of like you described, the academics are definitely first. We were in there quite a bit, like not close to 20 hours though, more like 10 and like maybe 15 during the season, because there's always the practices. But one of the main like misconceptions is that like, I don't know, I think that, and especially as like finances get weirder, everybody's like, oh, just cut everything besides class. And I think I'm one of the professors that's like, don't do that. That takes away all kinds of like community, like soul from campus type of stuff. Tell me a little bit. So like I can do exams, we can do discussions like we just did in farm. We can do a lot of stuff. What are things that in a team sport you're going to be able to build here that you can't in just pure class stuff?
Oh, well, definitely like determination and like just like actually like having to do something. Because when you go to practice, you don't have the option to just not go to practice or just not show up and try your best. Like you have to be at 100%. And so I feel like that allows me to apply that into class too. Like when I'm in class or when I do my homework, I have to do it at 100%. And so it makes me, I don't know, I guess not try harder, but I mean, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I do procrastinate, but like once I actually start doing something, then I know I have to like actually lock in and use 100% of my effort and do it. And so I don't know, I feel like I built some of those skills in basketball too, just because, I mean, every day is a grind and it kind of correlates with school, and especially my major, like every day is kind of a grind. You always have something that you could do or have to do, and it's just whether or not you're willing to put in the effort to get it done for that day. And I just take it day by day. Monday I have this to do, and then tomorrow I'll worry about my homework tomorrow, but today I'm going to study for this class, and then just do it like that. Yeah.
And I think and especially one thing that I think that like I really got, I think it naturally kind of comes and you don't think it's happening, but it is hard to fail at things, right? But in sports, it's literally like half the time or more. And like individual swimming or track stuff, it's like most of the time you don't get first place, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always noticed about like you and the other athletes I've got here at MSU, the resilience levels are just like off the roof compared to the average, which is great. That's another thing that I want to bring up. So you are going to do pre-med, you're getting all your stuff geared up. Like, here's another thing that I know a lot of athletes don't put on. Always put on like the amount of hours you put into this thing. Somebody on that committee is going to know because they'll have done it, but don't shy away from like literally how many hours of practices you've probably done. Like you can put that in the AMCAS and say like, this is how many.
Yeah. And then they can look at that and say, well, my dad always says, well, they're going to look at that you played basketball too. And so, like you said, they'll be able to see how many hours that I did. and that I was still able to complete this and not only just complete it, but actually get like decently good grades. And because it would be different if I was doing the basketball stuff, but I had like a C average or a B average, which, I mean, it's still obviously good to like pass your classes, but I feel like, again, that comes from basketball too, just wanting to actually do well at something and not just do it to get a C and just call it good. But
and I definitely agree on that. And like, I can definitely reflect for you on my end. I know that about you for sure. Cause yeah, I mean, and even like thinking of any athletes that I've had at MSU, I've rarely had one that skips class a ton. Cause like you said, it's like, you just don't do things half. And that's definitely one of the challenges that I think since COVID, maybe we've had is like in education is like the attendance levels are really strange. Which, I mean, to your point as a student, would you like, because profs talk about this all the time, would you rather we didn't have the attendance points and there were less people in class? So like your experience theoretically was that much easier and better. And it was people that just wanted to be there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, well, there is like a two sides.
Yeah, because you want those points, huh?
Because, I mean, the attendance points are always just good because it's like 2% of your grade. So that's always nice. Just bump it up a little bit. But then, like you said, if there's not a lot of people that goes, then you'll be able to ask more questions. And I mean, that's why I kind of like where I'm at right now with like working my way into higher level stuff. Most of my classes that I'm in only have like 20 people in them. So, I mean, the attendance stuff doesn't really, because I feel like everyone at this level, they want to be there because you're so high up now that it's like you have another year to go and you're close. And it's like, you're not really just going to skip because, especially since a lot of my friends are doing pre-med path, pre-dental, pre-vet, like stuff like that, where you need to actually show up and get good grades to be able to go do what you want to do. So I feel like there's that side where people are just going to go just because, you know, it'll weed out eventually. But then also, if there were no attendance points, I mean, it would help too, because sometimes if I miss a class, like there was my physics class sophomore year, I think, they had the attendance points, which theoretically would be good. But then when we have a game on Thursday and we leave on Wednesday, then we play Thursday and Saturday, then we're gone from Wednesday to Sunday.
Right.
Then I lose like 2 points for the week, which that for me kind of is where it runs into problems. But if I was just a regular student, I mean, you should be able to show up to pretty much every class.
I wish more people shared that sentiment, Malcolm. I guess some of the other stuff, like, or some of the general stuff that we ask on the show is always about just, you know, do you feel like, what are some of the misconceptions of like what we do day to day in the higher ed or is in biology, even if you want to call it just that? Or if there is sort of a changing shift of what higher ed kind of means in like the college experience, either way.
I'd say a lot of people think, you know, they kind of get scared of when you get to college and higher courses that you have to take during college of just professors spewing information at you. And then just you're required to just learn that information super quickly, which, yes, you do get a lot of information and you got to learn it quickly. But it's not as bad as you'd think when you have a good professor, which, I mean, that's why you got to be conscious of what college to go to. Because, I mean, the thing about this college is it's small enough to where most of my classes, it's a pretty good professor to student ratio to where if you have questions about anything, their office hours, you just go there, and instead of fighting with like 500 kids in like at the U of M, you're fighting with like 30 kids for the professor's time, which that makes it easier. And I mean, a lot of the professors as well. I mean, it reflects on them as a teacher too. If they have kids that are just failing, then it's not going to look very good. So like, I feel like they try more to like different learning techniques. I know you do because you always pull up the graphics at the beginning. And so like, I mean, at the end of the day, the professors want you to succeed too. So they're going to do anything they can do to help you. And I mean, but at the end of the day too, it is that one graphic you showed us, it was like 20% the professor does for you and 80% what you do. And it's like,
oh yeah, we haven't talked about that on the show. Yeah. That actually came, like I said, so I intro the classes with a bit of a stat where it's like introing like, and I do have the Pat Summit when she's coaching. I'm like, coach can't technically win the game. You all have to win. You have to beat the exam, basically. I want you to. but a research group at the SABRE meeting, which is it's like a biology education meeting in the cities every summer, and it's really good. They did a study. I can't remember who the group was, but it was they asked the students, what % of learning is your responsibility? And so I bring that question up. I let everybody think, and then I'm like, okay, it's not 0%. Because like I can't get in there and like chisel your brain in there and like teach you genetics or cancer bio. It's not 100%. I do have to teach. But their key metric was that there was a separator. If you said anything below 40%, those students failed far more significantly than the students that at least said higher than 40%. And it kept getting better the more they said was on them. But like you said, it was kind of that intrinsic motivation from athletics where it's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show up. And even though it is a team thing, like, you know that you have to push to be there for the team. That's actually one of the consequences of classes is like that they end in 16 weeks. One of the hardest things is that like the team kind of breaks up pretty quickly. Because at the end of our genetics group, I was like, God, I would teach these 90 over and over again. But like what happens in a smaller class like pharmacology, like that crowd of 20 in there or 18 is about 15 old teammates, basically. Yeah. And so I think that kind of plays into the better, higher classes are like, you kind of know a lot of people. I know almost everybody in the class. So the whole thing kind of just like comes together a lot better. So.
Yeah, that's what I like. I've noticed a lot more. Like I have just core 5 friends in class, and they're pretty much in all of my classes. At least one of the 5 are. So I mean, that's good too. And then going back to like the misconception about how like hard college is, I feel like I always think about it like this too. When I don't want to go to class, I just think about when I was in high school and I had to be in school for 7 hours, and I was able to do that every day for 4 years. But then I have like feel like I can't sit through a 1 hour class, and it just, it's just, if you think about the amount of time that you get outside of class in college compared to high school, you should be able to get what you need to be done. Because, I mean, in high school, I had 5 classes, I think, 6. No, I had 6 classes, and it was 7 hours every day because there's 1 hour for lunch. And then this semester, I'm taking 3 like hard classes and then like a 101 intro level class. But I mean, if I just put all my energy into those 3 classes and just use the same energy I did in high school for 6 classes, then you're going to have enough time to get what you need to be done. It'll be harder per class, but you have less classes. So it's like, it kind of evens out a little bit.
I'd agree. Yeah, it is different though. Cause it is like how, like these classes are more like, here's the core info. Here's some like activities we're going to do in class. But even like the big pharma deck, so it's a list of the drugs that you're responsible to know at the end of the day. We can't cover every single, just like in anatomy, you can't cover every single bone in the body. You got to do it some outside a little bit. It
took like upwards of 5 hours.
Hey, but that was good. Hey, it paid off though too.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, and I'm hopeful that, it's like these higher level classes, see how much more translatable this one, like pharmacology, is to straight up medicine. And the hope is, and what I've heard back from my old pre-meds that are out in the wild now, is that by taking like pharm or immunology or cancer bio, the questions on the MCAT are so much easier because when they're asking about phys or cells and signaling, they may use those as examples like a drug, and you'll be like, I just know what that does, done, and like move it. I think I already mentioned that and plugged that for myself already once on this, but it's okay. Yeah. But yeah, when are you going to practice MCAT and all that stuff?
Well, I got to start up pretty soon here. I was going to start at February 1st, and now it's the 6th, 17th. But, I mean, my goal is to take it at least, I was going to take it May 31st, but that would leave me 3 months to study, which is doable. And especially once basketball ends, it's like my favorite time of the year is spring when the basketball season's over, because like for class wise, no, it's okay. I love basketball, but like for all classes, that time opens up, when basketball's over, it's like there are so many semesters where like I'm just sitting at a B, and then basketball will end, and like my grade I'll just go up to an A, and like.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I'm remembering this now in our old classes. You're right. It does just like rocket up.
Because all the time that I was doing basketball, I just put it all into class, and it's like, just
super. Yeah, you get like super serious. Yeah. Hey, so we brought it up a little today. The last kind of fun part of this show is always about like, What do you think is going to happen with the old AI stuff from either end? Because today in class, we talked about that 2 sigma problem where it's like, if you have like a personal tutor as a student, you do double standard dev better than everybody else. But how to engineer the stupid ChatGPT to do that? And I don't know if it's like, I don't know if we're quite there yet. What are your thoughts kind of as a student with where this is all heading?
As a student, ChatGPT honestly is so helpful. Not gonna
No,
lie.
it's okay. Yeah.
I don't use it to cheat, but for like studying for classes, because some of my classes don't give like practice exams, practice questions.
Yeah.
So like you can, if you write notes out on a sheet based off like the lectures, you can have it scan the notes and then make practice questions for you.
Yeah.
And that helps so much.
And that's smart. That's a good way to use that thing, man. I got on here. So I kind of dropped it today. I was like, guess what the other side of the Farm Index is with this giant list of drugs that are for each exam. Here's this list. Make me Bloom's taxonomy applicative level questions. Go.
Yeah.
And you're right. And yeah, because like this has been a harder thing for me as a prof because I've always like written the questions and stuff, but it takes a long time. Did you notice it happened faster this year for us? Like we had more than usual. Or maybe
practice questions,
of some practice stuff.
Yeah,
a little bit.
You did a lot more too.
Yeah,
than because usually it's just the guided questions.
Mm-hmm. There was the extra batch.
And then I loved how you put the. Loved, and I mean it's like two sides of it because you can treat it really well the way you did it, but then there are some people that will also treat it really bad to like when you give the question and the answer,
right?
Because then you're like, if you're studying and you don't study the right way, you just look at it, then you look at the answer, you're like, oh, I knew that, but like, you didn't actually know it. The answer was just right underneath it. But I mean, for me, when I do a question like that and I'm not like 100% sure I know it, I like to like say like there was a specific drug, and then I'm like, I didn't really know it for 100%. I'll like put it in a ChatGPT and I'll be like, give me more information on this drug, and then it'll like list out a whole bunch of stuff on like some topic that I give it.
I gotta give its credit though, is like I heard about how the AIs would do a lot better almost as search engines. Cause like when old Google, before Google's AI is like it's gotten a little better, but it would just spit out like the pages and it was like, I don't know which one to click.
Yeah.
I don't know which one of these is good. But this also brings up like the AI will have to, it'll be different because we also don't know everything that it's pulling. It does hallucinate a bit. Remember in Cancer Bio, I used it to make 30 random patients, and it gave prostate cancer to 5 of the female patients. And I was like, okay, that was a hallucination. Oops. But at the end of the day, that was a great way to make those and like have some testable stuff. I have noticed sometimes when I over rely on it to write the questions and help me, sometimes I will miss hallucinations of my own. I'm like, oh, that one looks good. That one looks good. And then I'll find, shoot, that was a muscarinic agonist, and that was like a nicotinic agonist. So those two are like almost too close to test on, and I'd find myself doing that. But yeah, having the mixed model this year with the questions was like, I usually don't give the question answers to them because, like Malcolm said, I want them to kind of gain the confidence to get rolling with it. But having the questions redacted in black I think it was a good middle.
Yeah, it was better.
It was fun. I had somebody print it out and they're like, how do I find these on there? And I was like, no, just copy paste it, please. But no, they were good. So otherwise, yeah, I'd say like what message would you have to somebody who's thinking of sports in school? Because that's kind of your niche that like the audience is probably going to be like, hey, I want to know like, what is that? And like, what can I expect? Or like, what's, like you said, better than you think maybe?
Yeah, I'd say better than I thought was the time that I actually get outside of sports. That's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. A little thing that I would say is, I mean, obviously people will tell you, oh, it's hard. Like, you know, you can't do it. But I mean, it's hard without playing sports anyways. And I don't know. I always think of it as like, you're not going to tell like the difference between hard and harder. Like they're both just going to be hard in your eyes. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's just going to be hard, and it's whether or not you want to do it. And I mean, especially if you're playing sports, that means you're probably pretty self-determined to be able to get to a college level sport in the first place. So you probably have good habits about getting stuff done and showing up when you need to show up. So you already kind of have a little bit of an advantage just by your mentality. And so I'd say, yes, it'll be hard, but everything's doable if you want to do it enough. If you have that need and desire to actually get something done, you can do pretty much anything.
And that right there is a little bit why, even though pharmacology exists in a 15 YouTube series somewhere in YouTube, right? And the other classes you've taken, the journey that you just said, where it's like, you know that you can do something and you can be determined and like have something and like finish something. That's where I still see like that big role for us in higher ed and the community you mentioned and everything else. And the other stuff that you learn through sports and stuff too. And like having that opportunity. And so I think there's still a pretty cool picture out there for what you can do in 4 years.
Yeah.
Or 5 if you take a COVID year.
Thinking about it.
Yeah, you get a minor in something maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, or just a gap year.
Oh yeah,
MCAT.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause I'm also Malcolm's advisor. You do at least 2 to 3 full practice tests before you take that real thing. All right.
Yeah, my goal is gonna be taking the practice one.
Okay.
Before, I'm gonna say it to keep me accountable. I will have taken a practice exam before next Monday's class.
Nice. Yeah, because this episode is going to publish and people are going to comment and be like, did he do it?
Because then if I tell someone I'm going to do something, it also makes me do it more. Because then if I know you're going to ask me on Monday, got to be able to get it done.
Hey, that's the social contract, man. Yeah, it makes it happen. Awesome. Well, yeah. Thanks so much. I think you got to go study then. But one note on that, one happy note on the diagnostic test. Remember, all the training diagnostic materials are going to make that first test really hard so that you get a score that's like kind of lower. So then you take the real thing and they're like, look how many points you gained. So don't ever get discouraged by the diagnostic tests. And plus, I know you're good for it. So we'll have fun. Awesome. Who do you guys got next playing?
We play St. Cloud and Moorhead this weekend.
Nice.
2 pretty good teams. We lost to St. Cloud, but I mean, we'll get them.
Yeah. You going up there?
Yeah, we're going up there. But thankfully, we leave on Friday, not Thursday, because we left on Thursday for 2 games, and I missed 2 biochem labs.
Oh, shoot.
So that was not ideal.
Yeah. Life of an athlete, though.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks so much for joining. It was super fun. And again, like I said, first one to have like an athlete on the show. I think a lot of people are going to be looking to this one to say like, all right, what's it like? So thanks a bunch.
It's doable.
Awesome.